Hey, let's move on because I have a really exciting interview that I want to share with everybody today. Luckily, I actually talked just the other day to Michael Menrath via email. Michael Menrath of Tiny Quality Homes, which a lot of you have seen on Facebook now and even been mentioned on a couple other blogs. He contacted me. We spoke. I like what he's doing. I like the things he's coming up with. And so we scheduled out an interview, and I got a chance to talk to him on the phone and record that conversation. And even though it's not live, I want to share it with you right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Michael Menrath of Tiny Quality Homes. Michael, are you there?
Yes, here.
Awesome. So we are joined in the studio today by Michael Menrath of Tiny Quality Homes, and I believe his daughter Emily as well. Emily, are you there?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, I always like to start out by just saying a hearty thank you. So on behalf of the Revo Convo and, of course, Tiny Revolution, thank you all so much for being on the podcast today. We appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.
So let's start out with the basics here. Where are y'all located at?
Right now we're located in El Paso, Texas.
El Paso, Texas. I'm going to show my geographic ignorance here because I actually know nothing about El Paso, Texas, other than, if I'm not mistaken, there's like some salsa or something on the market that's named El Paso salsa or something. I have no idea anything else about it, except I do know that it's like across the border from Chihuahua, Mexico. Is that correct?
Pretty much so. The biggest city is Juarez. And,
Juarez, okay.
You can see the border right from our house where we live at our apartment.
Really? Holy cow. I had no idea. I don't think I've ever actually, well, I've crossed the border into Mexico once, but I've never actually stared at the border, and especially not when I've been conscious of, border control and immigration laws and things like that. So interesting. That's actually pretty interesting to me. Y'all don't have a Texas accent, so I have nothing to immediately make fun of you of. So that's kind of sad. But there's a reason for that. You're not native Texans, are you?
No. I'm from Cincinnati, and my daughter is born from the Chicago area.
Gotcha. And the reason for all this traveling is, unlike many tiny housers, you're actually serving as in active duty military right now. Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
You're in the United States Army. Is that right?
Yes. United States Army, stationed Fort Bliss, Texas, right in El Paso.
And now, did I read that you're part of the infamous 101st?
Yes, I was for 4 years
Gotcha.
Before I moved over here to Texas.
Gotcha. And now, Emily, I'm assuming that you are not a soldier yet.
No, no, I'm not.
Are you a full-time student? Because that's just like going to war.
No, I'm not a full-time student. I graduated a year ago, so.
So, as I can tell from the pictures, it seems like you've become a full-time tiny house builder, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So, y'all are in El Paso, and Michael, you are about to kind of wrap up your time with the United States Army. Is that right?
Yes, I'm about ready to finish up my 6-year contract. I should be done and out by June, about June 3rd is when I go on terminal leave.
Gotcha. So, yeah, that's not too far away at all. And as we've been talking and I've become familiar, and I have to say, for those of you who have not caught up with Michael online or whatever, the best place to see him is on his Facebook page, which is actually facebook.com/Tiny Quality Homes. That's facebook.com/TinyQualityHomes. Tiny Quality Homes. It seems like you folks, I didn't realize my voice was going hoarse. I don't know what's happening here. I work from home and I work by myself all day, every day, so I don't really talk out loud. So apparently my voice is going hoarse, and I'm just now finding out about it at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's interesting. I should talk to more people. So for those of you who haven't caught up with Michael, he's on Tiny Quality Homes on Facebook. And like I was saying, y'all kind of came out of nowhere. We were all just living on Facebook, enjoying our lives. And then, bam, this red tiny house with some brickwork showed up. And we were like, who is this guy? What is he doing? Because the design is very revolutionary, I think. The materials are revolutionary. And just the overall look and story. So that's why we wanted to have you on the show, was to talk about what brought you to this point. So as of June, you're going to be finishing up your stint in the United States Army, and then you're headed, correct me if I'm wrong, you're headed with your family to Tennessee.
Yes, we are. We're going to be located on our 22 acres that my wife and I had purchased. It's located about an hour southwest of Nashville, so we'll be kind of close to Tennessee tiny homes.
Oh, okay,
Location.
all right, very good. So does Tennessee know that y'all are coming?
I don't know, but, I consider him as my brother, and, in this business, not trying to compete with him or anything.
Yeah.
I know he's doing an awesome job out there.
Yeah. Well, that's great, because the reason I asked that is that would kind of make y'all only the second kind of tiny house family I know out there. So it'll be interesting to see how that region grows in the tiny house community. I know several different families that are starting kind of small farms, small homesteads, and living in small houses, but not tiny house trailers per se. So there's a very good community of folks out there just throughout the whole state. I believe the state's divided like in two ways. There's people who are on the plateau side of the state, and then people who are on the mountain side of the state or something like that. Again, my geographic ignorance. I know little about Tennessee, even though I've been through it many times, except for the fact that Dolly Parton's from Tennessee. And that's about the extent of my Tennessee knowledge. Actually, I know a lot more about Tennessee. It's an incredible state. And when you told me that y'all were, moving to your land, I got really excited for y'all, because it's a beautiful state, number one, and the fact that you're going to have such a small footprint really just means that you're going to be able to take advantage of so much beautiful land and so many beautiful natural resources. So that really is a cool thing. Emily, are you going with them?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? You're like, yeah, I'll wait and see how it works out. Who knows?
Well, I'm not sure yet, because I'm going through the application process for the Air Force.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, I hope you actually get to go for at least a while to Tennessee, because we've seen how much work you've put in on the tiny house. So I would hate for you not to get to crash your parents' pad there.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. I know your story, Michael, but I want to share it with our readers, because I think it's a really it's both an interesting story, and it's becoming a more commonplace story. So tell me how you got turned on to tiny houses in general. I would think that the El Paso area is not especially ripe with, especially the military area, is not especially ripe with people who want to live in teeny tiny houses. So what's the story there? How'd you get turned on to tiny houses?
Well, it's definitely not this area. I was in Afghanistan on my second deployment, and think about before I got married to my current wife, I was looking for a home online, typical 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-story home. And I don't know how, I can't remember how it happened, but I guess I was on Google, and tumbleweed tiny houses popped up. And I've heard that in many others podcast stories that you featured, that a lot of the people got started were inspired through tumbleweed tiny homes and Jay Schaefer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've mentioned him too. He's been my inspiration, and I've been following him. I purchased his book on tiny houses, and then I went and discovered Dan Luce, I don't know how you say his last name, and Tiny Builders, Tiny Living Plans.
Mm-hmm.
And I purchased his plans just to study them, and got the loft ideal, dormer wall ideal from off him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he got it from off of Proto House type. Yes, so it was I just grew in love with the tiny house concept ever since. Been just downloading pictures and saving them, and just oohing on and say, yeah, this is for me, this is for us. And then I shared it with my wife, and she's on board with it full-heartedly, and she's been my inspiration and been very supportive of this ideal.
Excellent. And Emily, what do you think about this old tiny house razzmatazz?
I don't know. I first heard of it because my dad was all like, I'm building a tiny house. And I was like, what's that?
And how old are you, Emily?
I'm 19.
So every fiber of your 19-year-old body should be telling you essentially what America wants you to hear, that bigger is better, and that you work hard and you have a good job and you make a good income, then you can live in the home of your dreams. So is it at all bizarre to you some days that the home of your dad's dreams happens to be like less than 200 square feet, or just right at 200 square feet?
At first it was, but I started looking it up too just to see what it was. And it's like a really smart idea, I think. I mean, what with so many people, trying to buy houses, and with how the economy is just kind of like going downhill, and then, their homes get repossessed. So why not build your own, and then you wouldn't have to pay anything for it after that, just, the normal, like, electric bills or something like that. And it's just like a smart idea, you have your own house, you don't have to worry about a bank or some other person coming and taking it away from you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It's great to hear someone who's 19 years old say that, because it really makes me think, and Michael, I must assume that it also is a source of pride for you to be thinking that, younger generations are picking up on this. They're trying to start out life without this huge financial burden and without the kind of obligatory feeling that, bigger is better, and that you have to, that the more things you own, the bigger they are, the more successful you appear to folks.
Yes, that's pretty much you hit the nail on the head there. I was following the three younger people's stories. I got just downloaded or signed up for a subscription for the Tiny Homes magazine, and I was just enjoying the three individual teams and their stories about how they got involved with the tiny houses, and they're building them in their parents' backyard, and they're having to work hard on their own to build their own tiny house. So it teaches them character as well as practical, implications for the future for their lives.
Absolutely. It's kind of like a modern-day version of the Scout program, because it's taking all of these kind of small little feats, these small little lessons, and combining them into this larger project where at the end you have, just kind of this home that's full of these merit badges. You learn framing, and you learn finish carpentry, and you learn siding, and you learn electrical work, and you learn some basic plumbing and all of those sort of things. So it really is quite an interesting thing. And I know that I'm not the only one that loves seeing the pictures that you include of you and your daughter working side by side, putting this house together, because there's a couple of things at play there. Number one, it shows that, there's a growing number of young women who want to do these things on their own, who feel empowered to be able to enter into the same space that's been traditionally held by men, the construction field, or the do-it-yourself kind of home, backyard, savage sort of space. But also that, tiny houses are doing what I think they were meant to do from the very beginning, and that's cultivate relationships, build bonds between family members and friends and people who enter into your home, because it's so much more than just a house. It really is a home from the get-go, something that you have created in your mind and then used your hands to bring to fruition. And I think that's where I want to go next. But before then, I want to say, you were looking up on Google and you came across tumbleweed tiny homes. Your experience in Afghanistan must have shown you that, in all different walks of life, we seem to be the most consumer-minded society on the planet. And the waste that comes with that consumer mentality is just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. In a sense, being deployed overseas, you're almost living in a tiny house because they have what we call chews. They're like containers. They were like 2-man chews. You have a roommate, and it's just a 20 by 8 foot container that's just lined with plywood and maybe a divider in it with a door on it. And in the building we stayed in, my last deployment was, we set up some shelves. We maybe curtain it off with a poncho liner or something like that, and made a little living area out of the little space that we were given.
Yeah. So, and that's very interesting to me because what I find is that the people that are involved in the tiny house community, more often than not, are people who have really taken a step back and taken a look at other cultures and other lifestyles and really pulled from them and started asking themselves, do I need all of that house to take care of, to furnish, to pay for, to heat, to cool, that sort of thing? And with you moving to Tennessee, what's so awesome about that is, when you first get there, before you, let's say you're going to put in a septic tank or dig a well or something like that, before you settle in on that, you've got kind of 22 acres to roam around on until you find the exact place that you want to put the tiny house.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. I got a lot of work ahead of me on that. I did do a survey trip, as the pictures you've seen posted on my Tiny Quality Homes of the Tennessee land. I've done those almost exactly a year ago in February. Had that abnormal warm weather, like an early spring.
Yep.
So I was able to survey the land, look at some areas, and I've seen some possible areas where we can put the home down. And what I want to do is not just one tiny house. I know I've heard more subjects about multiple tiny houses. And what I want to do is, my wife and I already discussed this as what we want to do with our setup is we're going to build what we call a bunkhouse guest room across from our tiny house, tie them together with a large pavilion type roof, and create an outdoor living area. I mean, fire pit, grill area, sitting area, so we can enjoy the outside. And that's kind of a setup we want.
Yeah, that's very similar to what we're doing or what we've designed. Our tiny house trailer is only one part of a much larger kind of homestead, if you will, because we do live rurally and we grow a lot of our own food and raise our food and that sort of stuff. So it's important to us that our house reflects that lifestyle. And so our tiny house trailer is part of a pod system in that when we go back to North Carolina at the beginning of April, pretty soon thereafter, we'll be starting to build the second part of our tiny house trailer, which will actually be on a foundation. We're going to put it on piers, though. We've decided to make it look a little more authentic to that region. And it'll essentially have a master bedroom. I say master bedroom. It won't be master by HGTV standards, but a master bedroom and then a bedroom for our 17-month-old daughter. Not that she has any desire to sleep other than 5 feet away from us. And then a bathroom and a place for our washer dryer. But it'll be the same size as the tiny house trailer. And then those will be connected by a little breezeway. And then we'll have a fairly large deck where we intend to put an outdoor fire pit and some awning so that we can stay out there 3 seasons at least and enjoy being outdoors. So it's very interesting because a lot of tiny house people are wanting to do more of that. They're wanting to kind of expand on having just their tiny house trailer, especially once they get to a place where they know they're going to be, we'll say semi-permanent. They're not planning to uproot in 3 or 4 months, spend a little more time there, which it sounds like is what you and your wife are planning on doing. So I want to talk about, for just a minute, where your design came from, because your design is, all at once, it's very different from what other folks are doing, but there are some elements that are very similar to what folks are doing. But I think it's the materials and the attention to detail that has really set your design apart. My first question is this: what construction experience do you have? I mean, what did you come into this project with?
The experience I had was when I was in high school and a little bit after high school, and then in other periods of time in my life before I came back in active duty Army. As early life, I built houses with my dad, so he taught me a lot of the basics, especially framing work, roofing. Now, we never did any metal roofing, so that's a new project to me. I did a lot of stone work with him on fireplaces. There were some cabins that he built, and he didn't build in southeastern Ohio, but what he did is stone work, and stucco stone work on the foundation parts of the cabins to make them look better. Did a lot of fireplace jobs just for those two. So a lot of my experience comes from working with my dad, and I was surprised when I started building my tiny house how a lot of that experience just came right back to me, because my computer knowledge on CAD programs and that, it doesn't exist, so I just drew it out on paper and doing a lot of math to figure out how high I'm going to make my walls. But as far as the design and materials, it sort of kind of came along as I was building. My initial thought was like a blue roof and kind of tanned site. And I don't know how I went from that to a charcoal gray roof to red siding. I just thought of those the last minute. I said, this is it. And then the thing over the door, that was a last minute thing, putting the kind of like a dormer design over the door and open that space up and put the half moon window over the door. That was another last-minute design feature that I added. And then I got to thinking, this will look sharp as some sort of stonework. So I got on the internet and I started researching. Okay, I can't use regular stucco stone because that stuff's heavy. And you don't want to be adding more weight to the trailer than what's already on there. So I started looking at these other, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right. I want to say fox stone, but it's faux stone, F-A-U-X or something like that. And there's all kinds of products out there that stalls like siding, but it's very expensive. And then I was just walking around inside of Lowe's buying some material, and all of a sudden they had a stand up in there right at the end of one of their aisles with a little TV display, and the product was called Airstone. And I got to thinking, I picked them up in my hand, and it's like, this is really light material, and it looks like stone. And it applies just like stucco stone. So I loved it. I started, this is it. I'm going to use this, and sure enough, it really made the accent area around the door pop on my exterior of my tiny house.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's interesting about that Airstone, because that is a product that Crystal and I had seen, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so, and we were actually considering using it in the interior of our house, around like the kitchen countertop area. But we just weren't sure how it would feel in the interior, if it would close the space off or not. Or if it would make it seem, a lot smaller than it really was, because it is, it was a relatively new product to us as well, and we hadn't really seen a large application of it, so it was, kind of an unknown factor. But after seeing how you've used it, I there's a couple places on my house I'm thinking maybe I should go back and I should add this stuff. It might really be classy looking, but. So that's neat to hear that it was relatively easy to install. It just uses what, like a mastic, like an epoxy sort of thing, and you just stick it up that way?
Are you asking about how I applied it?
Yeah, does it apply with like a glue, or do you screw it on?
Actually, if you're thinking about it for interior work, they do have a compound that they sell right there with the display. In fact, we are going to use some of it on the interior as well. I'm doing a ventless gas parlor fireplace.
Yeah,
right
I read that. Yeah.
Yes, and I'm going to do the stonework around it to accent it. And then I'm thinking about there's a shelf wall that kind of comes between the kitchen and where my computer desk is going to be. Before you get into the living room, the end of the shelf wall might put some stone on there to kind of tie everything in together.
Right.
But as far as the exterior, it does say in the directions on what material you can apply it to on the exterior. If you already have like a house that has block walls, some brick or something like that, but it specific says you cannot put it on OSB or plywood. Well, that's what the outside of my house is. So, but it did say a material you can use is like cement board. But I didn't want to go too thick with it. There is a very thin cement board, so it's not as heavy. So I put that up first all around the door area and up above the half moon area window there, and then sealed it up with some caulking. So sealed it up all nice in there, and before I put the stone down, and that's how I applied it. And I used the guy next to my shop. He does tile work, and he sold me a bag of cement mix that's actually used for the exterior or interior, and it's for wet areas. Especially for tiles that are medium to heavy absorbing, moisture absorbing. So like if you do stuff on the inside of a shower, that's the kind of cement mix you would use.
Right. Well, that is very cool. I have a feeling that your house is going to start a little trend, and we're going to see a little more of this airstone being used on some things, especially for people who are looking to go to the kind of the region you're looking to go to, because it makes it look a whole lot more authentic to the area and indigenous to the area because of the rocks and the mountain area in Tennessee. So I think that's very, very, very cool. So tell us about the interior of the house, about the layout itself. You have, I know you're putting in a parlor fireplace. You've written about having a full-size luxury kind of shower. What are some of the things that are going to be interior?
Okay, yeah, that's one of my favorite features is a shower. I did the kitchen layout. Let me explain that a little bit. It's like a galley-style kitchen where it's on both sides of the tiny house, straight down to either wall of the tiny house before you get to the bathroom wall. And, the kitchen sink's going to be under where the garden window is. That's one of my other special features is the garden window. You can kind of see it kind of sticking out a little bit and a little roof over it. And then on the opposite side will be the cook area. There'll be a convection oven and a microwave, as well as a 4-burner gas cooktop. And I'm going to think I'm going around with design with a nice fancy exhaust hood that comes up out of there, and a powerful exhaust fan that'll pull all the gases out. Because, you consider it in a small area, you got to be able to make sure you ventilize everything very, very well. Walk through the kitchen, and then you hit the bathroom door, and it's typical 3 foot wide, 3 foot in length, 8 foot by wide. But what I did for the shower is my floor framing, I had to do what you call bump out and turn my floorboards or joists going out the rear of the trailer, do an extra support underneath to handle the cantilever effect. And because I went 2 feet out beyond the trailer framework, and you really got to know what you're doing to do this. So I did this, and it's worked out. I got the extra 2 feet extended out, to encase the 48-inch walk-in shower.
Mm-hmm.
And I already have the kit. I bought it through Luxury Bath and Showers. I saw it online, and it's a complete kit. And pretty inexpensive when you compare when you can buy a shower kit from Lowe's and you have to install all the fixtures and plumbing, and if you want to do glass doors, you're looking about the same price. So I got a fairly good deal with Luxury Spa and Showers, the name of the company. The bathroom will have a nice vanity with a bowl sink. We already have that picked out, ready to go in once I complete the bathroom. And we'll do a composting toilet underneath the window in the bathroom. Now, I turn to do an about face and look at the other windows on the other end of the house. That's where the living room is, and I'm doing a encased window seating, 68-inch, and my wife's already got the couch picked out. And I'm going on this couch, I'm leaving the legs off the assembly and doing a built-in bench underneath where you have storage under the couch, and then the couch will fold out into a bed downstairs if you don't want to climb the loft ladder to go to sleep up there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other feature we're putting in there, besides the parlor fireplace. And that's going to be a little tricky design. I'm doing like a little angle wall near the door. It's going to tie in the refrigerator shelving area that goes before you go into the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the fireplace will go in.
Wow. That sounds like some kind of home.
I didn't forget about the loft. It's actually about 10 feet in length when you include the rear storage. And I got two small closets that are going to be up there on either side. So one of the things I want to do is make sure we had ample storage. Because I've seen tiny houses online, and it's like they're lacking storage, and I've seen the comments, where do I hang my clothes at? Well, this house will have all that. We'll be able to have ample storage inside the house.
Right. And so I know most folks are probably asking themselves right now, so what is the size, what are the dimensions of your tiny house? So tell us, what are the dimensions of your tiny house?
Okay, this is built on a 20-foot trailer, cargo trailer, double axle. The house itself is, when you include the shower bump out and the little extension I did out for the front for the window seating area, it's exactly 23 feet in length, 8 feet wide. I guess when you add the roof eaves and the garden window, pushing right about 117 inches, so I probably will need I will need a wide load permit to pull it down the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Won't need an escort car or anything, just a wide load permit.
Mm-hmm.
The height from ground to peak of the roof is sitting right at the maximum of 13.6.
Right. So now, what is doggone it! It just skipped my mind. Oh, I know what I was going to ask you. Where did you get the trailer from? You know, a lot of people will say, "Oh, I'm reusing a trailer that I found on Craigslist, or I bought it from this trailer company or that trailer company." Where did you get the trailer from to start out with?
It was on Craigslist.
Gotcha.
But it was a El Paso trailer company on the east side of the city, little mom and pop owned trailer shop. I seen it online. It's a used trailer for about $17,500, and that's a good deal. But I think in my future homes, I'm going to stick to Nuller because the amount of work and extra stuff I had to do to this trailer, I think I would have done better going more newer than old. Right.
Yeah, and you know, that's what a lot of people end up saying, and I can't say that necessarily that was the case for Crystal and I, because at the beginning we had more time than we had budget, so we really had time to kind of get our trailer straight, but I think we've talked about working on a second tiny house, and I think when we do, we'll probably buy a new trailer simply because, you know, the manufacturer's willing to work with you and you can kind of get it customized to fit your needs, because obviously the biggest concern is always the weight of the house. How much is it going to weigh when it finally comes time to tote it down the road? So are you at all concerned about what the overall weight's going to be?
I am a little bit because again, my floor foundation, I use 2x8s and other than 2x4s, but all the floorboards are basically stripped out. And I had a frame within the frame of the trailer because the trailer frame is odd because it's an older base frame, L bracket, L frame trailer frame. So I sat my 2x8 floor joists, the longer ones, right into the L framework and just carriage bolted right in. So yeah, I know my trailer's going to be heavy, but like I mentioned online, I am taking measures to beef up the suspension. I'm going to go with some load stabilizers I've seen online for trailers for heavy weight. So when the weight mashes down on the springs, the stabilizers will catch the weight and stabilize the whole load while you're driving down the road.
Right. So, Emily, let me ask you, what has been kind of the most impressive part of this for you? I mean, when your dad first said he wanted to build one of these tiny houses, you probably were thinking, oh, great, we're going to build this shack on a trailer sort of thing. What's it been like for you watching this process take shape?
I guess the most impressive part is that, it sort of reminds me of like a trailer, but it has more like a house feel. It doesn't feel like a trailer. It's obviously smaller than, like a regular size trailer, but it's got, your own customizations in it. And it doesn't, like, trailers are very boxy.
Right.
I know that tiny homes are boxy as well, but with like the open floor plan, it doesn't really seem as much boxy. You know what I mean? And plus, you've got that steeple roof, what's it called?
Vaulted ceiling.
Yeah, the steeple roof, and trailers don't usually have that either. So it sort of like opens it up, and it makes it feel more, makes it feel bigger than what it is.
Right.
And it's very nice, because obviously I'm referring to trailers because I've lived in trailers before. And, like trailers usually have like, unless you buy them brand new, you're usually going to move into a used trailer, and it's like old appliances, kind of old.
Right. But, they don't date well.
Yeah. This is like, your own customization and everything's new and it's all personalized, And
right.
It's, I like that about it.
So have you picked up any construction experience by working on the house with your dad?
Not hands-on, but I have picked up, like, he'll tell me about how he like, the space between the roof, for the ventilation, and all that. And, I don't know, it's just some stuff that I didn't know before, at all. But, yeah.
Very cool. So, Michael, now, once once June hits and you're able to transport the tiny house to Tennessee, what waits for you there? Clearly the land is kind of undeveloped. Well, it is. It's totally undeveloped land. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, the roads that I saw were still dirt. What awaits you there? Is there any sort of septic there? Is there any sort of well there? Or are you going to have to really develop your homestead from scratch?
I was just shaking my head. Yeah, there's nothing there. No electric, no septic, no sewage, nothing. So, yes, we are already got it in the works. We're planning. We're going to do a cistern system that's kind of mounted upward with a funnel bottom. So that would create water PSI to the home or homes, whatever we have out there, end up having. Our waste is going to be just gray water, so basically maybe a small type sewage tank that requires filters before you leach it out into the yard. Did read up on the codes for Wayne County, Tennessee, and so they do require some sort of filtration system
right.
On gray water before you leach it out into the yard. So yeah, like I said, we got our work cut out for us.
So y'all are going to be using a compost toilet, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what are you going to do for electrical? You mentioned that there's no electricity out there. Are you going solar?
Yes, we are. We're going to go solar. We're looking at a number of different options. Looking at, I think some of them advertised through the tiny house websites, like a full solar/generator. We're figuring all out of the process where you can just directly line it through to the house.
Right.
That's what we kind of want to do, just kind of make it dummy proof.
Mm-hmm.
And then wind turbine as well to increase the electric flow, and then of course backup generator. And then as far as the gas appliances, our refrigerator is going to be a gas refrigerator, propane gas. We try to keep everything else as gas, so we have minimum electric. So we're going to do an external propane tank, and we're looking online for the cost of propane tanks, and just run a line to the house and to the appliances.
Sounds very cool. Very cool. When you get to the land and you're setting up all this stuff, are y'all living in an alternative structure until you can get this set up, or like a camper or an RV or something like that, or are y'all just going to do what Crystal and I did at the beginning and just redneck house camp?
Well, the house itself, I mean, I'm pushing to get it done. Like I said, you seen earlier that I sent to you, I'm on my 29 days of leave from the Army. was looking forward to it, so I'm really going to be pushing to get a lot done.
Mm-hmm.
It'll definitely be livable before we move it out there.
Right.
And I want to try to really push to get a lot done, because there's a El Paso RV show coming up in April, and I really want to try to enter this into that.
Mm-hmm.
As a possibility to kind of promote it a little bit.
Very cool. So what are your plans for in terms of building the house? Because I think a lot of people are very attracted to the house and attracted to some of the options you put inside of it. Are you intending to try and turn this into a little bit of a vocation where you'll be, a little bit of a business endeavor where you'll be either selling your plans or you'll actually build tiny houses for people? Is there any future in that for you?
Oh, yes, definitely. Of course, the business name be Tiny Quality Homes.
Uh-huh.
I will be, what I want to do in my concept is contract with the customer and customize the home to whatever the customer's needs are. If they want to live in it full time, I want to ask them, okay, what is the most important room to you? Is it the kitchen? Is it having a large living area? Are you into luxury bathrooms? Those kind of designs, I've already been toying around in my mind on different designs, like take, for instance, someone who loves to take baths. They want that luxury spa bathroom. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking about a design of micronizing the other three essentials of the home, living, kitchen, and sleep area, and then the other whole half of the house be dedicated to a kind of like a retreat bathroom.
Right.
With a soaking tub, fireplace in the background. Really want to do something like that for someone. My wife's in the kitchen or in the cooking. She loves cooking, so our home is specifically going to be designed for her cooking needs, and that's why I'm decking out the kitchen for her.
Right.
And that's basically what I wanted to go with. The other future endeavor is I probably want to do a workshop. I'm planning on building a large work barn to build these houses out of, but also to host a workshop. Instead of the traveling type workshop, I want to host the workshop there on the property and have several of these tiny houses set up where the student can come and stay in the tiny house instead of a hotel room and attend the workshop. So they get the feel of a tiny house as well as learning to build a tiny house.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's very important for people who want to make the transition into tiny house living to actually get some experience living in them or staying in them, because it's much different to view even the pictures online and then to actually be inside of it and feel kind of how your body fits into one and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really great idea, a fascinating idea, and I think a lot of people would love to, especially to get away, if you will, to a more remote setting and just be able to kind of focus on that. It could be a retreat in and of itself. So that sounds very cool. Look, Michael, I want to ask you about one of the aspects of tiny house living that I think a lot of people are always thinking about, even if just in the back of their mind, and that is the financial aspect of it. You're about to end your career in the Army, and so you'll, if you choose to, you'll be entering kind of the mainstream job market, which we all know is not exactly a booming market right now, and you and your wife will find yourselves on a bit of a fixed income, I can imagine. So what does it mean for you in terms of building a tiny house and being able to just really live within your means and live kind of a debt-free lifestyle?
Oh, that's definitely the reason why we got into this movement. I guess we considered us kind of like doomsday preppers, but not in the sense of end-of-the-world type preppers.
Mm-hmm.
What we want to do, and we are already planning on doing this, is we are building food supplies. We want to do a root cellar as well as the other things we talked about, and raise our own crops, maybe have a few chickens and goats on the property. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a retirement plan for ourselves.
Yeah.
Self-sustaining. And we are the kind, we don't want to rely on a government check when we're old.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be, hey, we got our stuff. We don't really need Uncle Sam's money. We can sustain ourselves.
Right, exactly.
So
exactly.
That's pretty much the direction we're going with. But as far as the financial and how I came up with money, well, I didn't come up with money. I'm married to a wife who's a nurse with a purse. So. But like I said, she's been an awesome wife. She's taken on a second job, believe it or not. She's an ICU nurse. That's hard enough as it is, but mm-hmm. She's taken on a second nurse job working in a psych ward here in El Paso. And between the two paychecks, she makes 5 times more than I do. So she's been handing me over chunks of money. Say, hey, go buy some more material and get the house done.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you say, because I think that's a really important thing. We're asked quite frequently, because I work a corporate day job, so we're asked quite frequently, about investing and retirement and all that sort of thing. And our retirement plan is very similar to what you're talking about, in that we don't have the traditional 401k retirement plan. We don't have investments and stock options and that sort of thing. Our retirement plan is based almost entirely on minimizing our overhead expenditures to next to nothing. Our dependency on the grocery store is minimal. Our dependency on, the healthcare system is minimal. Our dependency on even utilities is minimal at this point, and will grow more minimal in the future. And so, our retirement basically is kind of an equation that says, hey, we don't have to pay, we don't have bills that equal X amount of dollars each month, so we don't have to make X amount of dollars. Our bills are relatively low. So if we can meet those, then that's all we have to do. We don't have to, we don't have to work these jobs till we're 80 years old and then hope that the Social Security system is held out that long. So I think it's very cool what you say, and I totally get what you're talking about with the doomsday prepper things. I think, it's funny because anytime you say, a prepper or something like that, people get these nasty connotations, but really, I don't even look at it so much as you're preparing as you're just creating a sustainable lifestyle for yourself, and one that you don't have to turn to someone else and hold your hand out and say, take care of me. And I think that's a very strong feeling, a very strong emotion in the tiny house community, is that desire to be able to take care of yourself, your family, and your own needs without extending your hand to other sources.
Exactly. And I love that way you put that. You know, when you think about my wife, like we're sitting right here in front of this park and looking to my left, we're looking at these huge McMansions here. And I know with my wife's income, we could be living in one of these houses easily with her kind of income. But I just love the way she thinks. And she's on board with me on this tiny house thing. And she's the one that really want to do this prepping stuff. I don't really like to call it prepping, just retirement plan. And of course, you know, living in Tennessee, you know, we're probably more like in the tornado belt and tornado alley, and you know, anything can happen.
Sure.
And some sort of short-term destruction could come upon us, but we want to be prepared. We don't want to be like over there in New York, and they're still struggling during the aftermath of the hurricane that hit over there. They're still hearing about the stories out there. People are still struggling because they weren't prepared.
Right. Yeah, it does come down to that. I mean, there's definitely a fine line between, you know, preparing and between hoarding and that sort of thing. And then there's also the you know, the conversation about, well, when you're a tiny house or you live in a more urban environment, you don't have the option of having land and being able to raise your own animals and all that stuff. And I understand that, but what I think is great is that you're utilizing the region you want to live in. You're going to enjoy life. You're going to do it on, you know, a scale that you can maintain. And along the way, you're going to pick up some sustainability skills that will help you not just in the future, but, you know, help you should a disaster come about or should an unexpected emergency come about, because you don't ever know. You really don't ever know what could happen. So I applaud you, man. I think everything that you're doing is great. I love the house. I think I've told you in some emails, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And next time we are in that region, I will definitely plan on getting out there to check it out for myself. Because I think it's just tremendous. And I think after this podcast, more and more people are going to start to look at your design, and it's going to get them, you know, get their imaginations going. Because in the next 29 days, I expect we're going to see some pretty cool pictures of an interior taking shape. And if those pictures do anything like the pictures of our kitchen have, it will get people really questioning, you know, kind of the status quo on tiny houses and really thinking about what does my tiny house need to have to suit my lifestyle. So I encourage you to keep doing that. I think it's awesome. And Emily, I hope that you get to enjoy the fruits of your painting labor. We've all seen the pictures of you out there painting the house. So hope you get to enjoy that. But I just want to, you know, on behalf of the Revo Convo and Tiny Revolution, I want to thank y'all for being on the show today.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Drew. I really appreciate you inviting us on the show.
Absolutely, and I wish you the best. And again, folks, if you want to take a look at Michael's house and find out more about him, you can go to Facebook.com. In the search bar, you just want to enter Tiny Quality Homes. It'll take you to the page, and you can like the page and then gain access to all those albums and see just what a dynamic tiny house they're building. So, Michael, we look forward to all the updates, the new pictures, man. It's going to be awesome. We wish you the best, especially over this next 29 days. We hope you get lots of work done so we can see some cool interior shots, man.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. That's where we're heading back to, the tiny house, to do more work.
All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. Be safe. Best of luck to you.
All right. Thank you. You too.
All right.
Bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of the interwebs, tiny house community people, this concludes another edition of the Revo Convo podcast. And, of course, today was a landmark day because we were joined by our co-host, Laura Lavoie. So on behalf of myself and my little part of the Tiny Revolution, and, of course, on behalf of my new co-host...
You know, we just talked about we have no idea how to end this. So,
yeah, I was hoping you would be like, and my new co-host, Laura Lavoie, but it didn't happen.
I could do that.
Let's try it again. All right, here we go.
Try that again.
All right, so on behalf of my little part with Tiny Revolution, and on behalf of my new co-host,
Laura Lavoie,
we thank you for joining us today. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can email either of us. You can always email me at andotum@gmail.com or find me on tinyrevolution.us. And Laura, tell them how they can get in touch with you.
You can email me directly at lmlavoie@gmail.com, or you can reach me through my Facebook page, which is Think Big, Build Small.
All right. So, guys, thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you next week as we continue to interview innovative people, movers and shakers of the tiny house community, and now officially have banter back and forth about all things big and small. Y'all have a great day. Later.
Bye.